Hi, I'm Andrew Flannery, and you're watching Legal Bites. That's better CPD, as you need it, when you want it, in bite-sized chunks. And welcome back to part 2 of our coffee chat about mistakes. So pause the video, make yourself a cup of coffee, and let's crack on. Now, as we were saying in part 1, mistakes happen, so just get over it. Which is fine to say, but it's not easy because mistakes have consequences and they hurt. So we need a framework or a philosophy around mistakes so that we can keep on making mistakes and getting up when we fall down. And the lesson that I wanted you to take from today is we need to make more mistakes and learn from them so that we build judgment and make ourselves more valuable lawyers. Now let's just unpack that a bit. Why do you think it is that we're paid the big bucks as lawyers? Is it because of our knowledge? Well, it partly is. Absolutely, we know a lot about the law and people are willing to pay for that. But knowledge you can get from professors, academics, from books. You don't need us lawyers. Is it maybe because of our know-how, that we know how to navigate our way through all of the complexities of the legal environment? That's certainly part of it, and that's a big part of it. But these days, you can get checklists for just about everything online, and artificial intelligence is more and more going to be able to take the complex and provide it for free. So why are people going to pay us? And I think the answer is that we're paid the big bucks as lawyers because of our judgment. When clients have difficult problems, they come to us for our judgment. But how do you make or how do you grow good judgment? And the way to grow good judgment is to exercise bad judgment and learn from it. Or to put it another way, to make mistakes. Now, really, if you're then saying to yourself, I'm ambitious and I want to go far and I want to go fast, the answer is to make more mistakes and learn from them. But that just seems like an exercise in masochism. So here's a framework for looking at it. I've found it very useful in my career and I've taught it to dozens of young lawyers. And it's called the competence hierarchy. Imagine 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody starts on the first step. And that first step is called unconscious incompetence. That word again, unconscious incompetence. And this is a wonderful place to be. It's that place where I don't know what I don't know. I think I'm amazing. And I see young lawyers, grads coming into the law firm, and they walk in there floating 2 or 3 feet above the air, Batman cape on, going, I can do anything. I'm going to be running the next IPO next week. In fact, they're a bit like Buzz Lightyear. You remember him standing up on the bedpost, little plastic wings extended going, to infinity and beyond, and jumping off. And as lawyers, it only takes a couple of months of landing on your face, or maybe it's a couple of days of landing on your face, or for some of us, when we look back, it's only a couple of minutes of jumping and landing on our face to realize, oh man, there's so much to learn. There's so much I don't know. And that's when we go up to the second step, which is called conscious incompetence. And that is a whole world of pain. Oh man, there's just so much I don't know. And I know that I don't know. Conscious incompetence. Now, every lawyer goes through that. And that feeling can last for quite a long time. And all I can say to you is that it gets better. But that feeling really lasts 1, 2, 3, 5 years, where we feel that we're in that conscious stage of pain while we're constantly learning. And we're making mistakes all along the way as we learn. But the comfort, no, it's probably worth saying many lawyers pull out at that point. Many lawyers go and do other things. They go into industry, they go in-house, they go into academia, they go out of law completely and go into learning and development, HR, other streams. And that's fantastic too. But the encouragement I'd give to you is to stick at it long enough until you get to step number 3, which is conscious competence, which is when you know that so long as you're careful, So long as you've got an eye and attention to detail, you can make your way through. But sure, new things will come your way, but you know the people to go to, you know where to find the resources in books and on the internet, and you know you're going to be okay. That's conscious competence. And frankly, that's where most of us spend most of our career. But the point we're all aiming for, the next level, fourth step up, is unconscious competence. And certainly I've known some fabulous lawyers who just live their life there at that point of unconscious competence. And sometimes as young lawyers, you'll be talking to an older lawyer and go, man, how do you know that shit? How do you know what's going to happen? And I feel that when I get together with my litigation partners and they go, Andrew, surely you would have known when you did that stupid thing that it was going to land up at this point in the litigation. And I go, no, I had no idea. It's completely blindsided me. But when you've been doing this for long enough and making mistakes for long enough, you know what's going to happen. You know in your gut what's going to happen. And maybe you've forgotten the particular section in the Conveyancing Act. You've forgotten the particular rule of evidence, but you know the way the transaction's going to go and you can see around corners. It's a bit like when my son was little and my friends had come around and Ben had come rushing out. Ben's 8, 9, 10 and say, can you play me on the PS3? It was PS3 back then. And of course, my adult friends would go, sure, no problem. They'd sit down thinking that they're going to just wipe the floor with this little 9-year-old. And they'd start and they'd get shot almost immediately. But Ben's there. He knew exactly where to go. He knew exactly where to be. He knew when the boss was going to come up. He knew where he had to be. He knew when the monster was going to come in from the right-hand side. And what's more, he'd played this so many 100 times that all of that was stuck in his muscle memory. He didn't even need to think about it. He'd just glide through that game. And of course, he'd walk the floor with all of my adult friends and they'd walk away well and truly trounced by a 9-year-old. But that's unconscious competence. He'd reached the stage of flow where he could just find his way through. Now, the Buddhists put it a slightly different way, and I love the way they describe it. A man was walking down the street and he fell into a giant hole in the pavement. It was dark and it was cold and he couldn't find his way out. He cried and he wailed, and a passerby put down their hand and they helped him out of the hole. Now that's unconscious incompetence. He didn't know, but he didn't know. A man was walking down the street. He was on his mobile phone. He was thinking about other things and he fell into that same damned hole. He could not believe it. How had he been so stupid? He knew there was a hole there. But at least this time, he knew where the handholds were. He knew where the footholds were, and he managed to scramble out. That's conscious incompetence. He knew there was a hole there and he fell in anyway. A man was walking down the street and he nearly fell into a hole, but he knew the hole was there and he knew to skirt around it, and he continued on his way. That's conscious competence, step number 3. A man was walking down the street and he knew there was a hole on one side, so he crossed to the other side of the road and continued on his way. Unconscious competence. But the Buddhists take this one step further. That man had moved on long ago. But one day he was back in his old neighborhood and he was walking down that street. And as he walked down the street towards the hole, he heard a man in the bottom of the hole calling out for help, wailing. And he reached down his hand and he pulled him out. And that's the higher step, which is helping other people. And that's what we're going to get to in our third discussion. And I hope you join me, learning from other people's mistakes and becoming a coach and a mentor to help young lawyers so that they don't fall into the same mistakes that you did. See you then. Bye.